Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in today's episode, I wanted to talk on when people argue with me about a video game. Because, no, lately that has been happening. I have been critical on a lot of different video games over the years. And I would have to say the one game that I noticed where people were arguing with me, like they were upset by what I was saying, was X4 Foundation. And here's the thing. When I do the content that I do, when I'm talking or criticizing a video game, I'm not trying to have it where if you like the game, I'm not trying to convince you not to like the game. I'm talking on my own personal experience. So when I say that this game is bad, I don't like it, the thing is this, what people need to understand, for one, that I'm a content creator. So people are obviously wondering, what's going on within my content creating lifestyle. What video am I going to post next? What am I going to post to social media? People follow me for my gaming content. That's why I have Twitch followers. That's why I have YouTube subscribers on my gaming channel. That's why I have followers on TikTok where they follow me just strictly for gaming content, or it's random people that's curious, because my thing is this. If I had somebody, telling me or talking the same way I was talking when it came down to certain video games where I didn't know nothing about it, I would expect people to be honest with me, tell me the truth. I don't want people to tell me the good of the game but not tell me the bad. So that's why when I do content, I'm keeping it a buck. I'm not lying. I'm not, being paid off to say bad things about a game. Like, this is why people subscribe to me. They subscribe to me because I'm being honest about a video game. So when I do content, talking about it, like, okay, X4 Foundation, do you think people are clicking on that video to see your comment about why you like the game, talking on your own personal experience, or do you think they're clicking on my video to hear what I have to say about the game? Because my thing is this, anytime when I click on a video, my intentions is to watch that video, not really to read the comments, because I know a lot of the times, especially just with the stuff that I didn't dealt with, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there where if a person is talking on their frustrations with the video game, my thing is this, if I get to worrying about having the same frustrations, that's going to prevent me from buying the video game. I'm not trying to have it where I buy this video game, because no, there's even been times where the one video, EVE Online, it ain't a game that you have to buy, but still, I remember even talking about that game and saying that they need to have a PvE mode in that game. And there is all these, and it's crazy how, like, there's games out there that are not PvE or they don't have no PvE mode, and then all the PvP players just come up out the woodworks and they try to pretty much like demolish that opinion about the game. And I'm like, okay, well, my thing is this, I'm not trying to have to worry about people like you ruining my experience, because my thing is this, if you want to play PvP, the mode already exists. So it ain't like people are going to step away from the PvPvE mode or PvE or PvP mode to go play PvE. If they want to play PvE, that's their choice. If they want to play PvP or PvPvE, that's their choice. At the end of the day, what's my thing is this, how is me playing a PvE mode in a video game going to ruin your experience? You already done had an experience with this game. I had a bad experience with this game. So my thing is this, I would like to be able to have a good experience and be able to tell people, hey, this game is good, but make sure of it though, you play the PvE mode. And it's crazy because people like to say that that'll ruin the game, that'll split the resources, that it's this and it's that. And the one game that I have been playing a lot of where I have yet to play the PvPvE mode is Gray Zone Warfare, because they actually they debunked that whole theory of ruining the game and splitting the resources to rest. Or yeah, they debunked that whole statement about games like that where it's just strictly PvPvE or PvP. But, and that's the thing, when people say, I guess like in with them PvPvE games, that it is like, you will be going up against NPCs, but there are going to be at times where there's people playing that game, because I remember people saying that with EVE Online, that there are people that just camp out at certain sectors and they'll just kill you, just either for the fun of it or take your loot. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not trying to deal with that. If I get killed by the NPCs, then that's one thing. But if I'm getting killed by somebody where it's like there's all these different things that you could be doing ruining the game, yet you're trying to ruin my experience. That just doesn't even make any sense. One would think that you would want more people to play the game rather than having it on some stuff where I'm like, now I gotta find another game to play because there's people out there that's just wanting to ruin the experience. There ain't nothing fun with that. You can try to convince people or try to convince yourself that that's fun. It ain't fun. And I guarantee and I promise you, let some stuff like that happen to you, or let you feel the same way I feel about a video game where it's like it's on some stuff like that, you wouldn't be playing that game. All right, but no, anyways, talking on the video game Gray Zone Warfare, they do have a PvE mode in that game, and I have been playing that mode pretty much ever since I got the game. I don't even think I ever played PvE in that game. I probably will one day, but I'm just happy at the fact that they have that option where you can play the game and just go completely up against the environment. You don't have to worry about people in the game, and it's crazy because people actually do play the PvE mode in Gray Zone Warfare. They're making it, and they're thinking along the lines like, oh, it's people ain't gonna be playing PvE no more. People play that too. It's funny because I've mainly played PvE, but when I watch content of Gray Zone Warfare on TikTok or YouTube or something, I see where people do play PvE. So that whole thing about, oh, it's going to split the resources, ruin the game, Gray Zone Warfare pretty much showed that it's not going to ruin nothing. And then came out with a fully functional working video game, and then came out with a new update. They even made the game even more better. So at the end of the day, it's like, what do you guys talk about? My thing is this, and you know what's so funny about that? When people say that, that's one thing that I notice when people get to arguing with me about a video game. They'll say that a game is good, or they'll say that an idea is bad, but they never provide evidence. They never provide evidence. They always, because, all right, so for an example, if I say that a video game, Arc Raiders, for an example, if I say that game needs a PvE mode, people get to arguing with me, and they be all like, oh, sounds like you're having a skill issue. Sounds like they just say the same copy and paste comments that everybody else pretty much done told me before when I didn't had the same conversation. But I'm like, explain to me, how is PvE going to ruin a video game when it's been done in so many different video games? Because Grand Theft Auto, for an example, that game they don't have a PvE option. Well, I mean, actually, I take that back. They do. You if you play invite only, and I think you can. I think it's because there has been times where people have joined in on those games, like, but it's been friends though, and I guess with friends, I don't be worried too much about them. Like, I'll tell them, hey, look, bro, don't kill me, I'm doing something right now, but no, overall though, I guess that counts as PvE, the invite only mode. And then they have the regular Grand Theft Auto Online mode. So that's probably, in my opinion, that's probably the biggest game that has both PvE and PvPvE. So it's really one of those things at the end of the day where I'm all like, people, if you're going to try to hit me with some quote unquote actual factuals and stuff, provide evidence. Show me that a PvE mode in Arc Raiders is not going to work. But when I name a smaller game, Gray Zone Warfare, and a much more bigger game, Grand Theft Auto, is like, there is whole evidence. Do you think if we're in a courtroom, do you think the evidence that I've just provided to the courtroom, that's not going to matter? I mean, come on now. It's things like that you gotta really sit down and think about. But no, it's like when they get to arguing with me about video games, they make it seem like I just got into gaming. And I'm like, bro, I have been playing video games since I was a child, okay? Since I think when I very first held a controller, it was when I was either 2 or 3 years old. I don't remember the exact age, I don't remember the exact time, but I remember the very first console I ever played on was Nintendo 64. And since then, hold on for a second, I'm getting a message. Alright, I'm back. Just had to respond to a message real quick. But anyways, no, I've been playing video games since I was 2 or 3 years old, around that time frame. So when people get to trying to like question my gaming knowledge and make it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't take offense to it, but at the same time, it's like, how are you going to question me about my gaming knowledge? And most likely, I have been playing video games longer than you've been alive. So that's what's just always funny to me. It's people that don't know nothing about gaming, and they find their favorite video game, and then they get to argue with me about that game. For an example, recently, they actually, you know what? No, I take that back, because I was like, I did want to talk on X4 Foundations. I wanted to just kind of go through the list of video games where people then argue with me, and I'm like, fam, do you think by this whole argument that we had, do you think it's going to change my opinion about the game? But anyways, no, so with X4, I'm going to get to the Division 2 in a moment. But anyways, I wanted to talk on the first game where I started noticing when people were kind of upset with my opinion about the game. But my thing is this: if I gotta spend hours upon hours playing the tutorial, and then when I finally do get into the game, there's pretty much no way of, because I remember when I played X4 Foundations, they had me do this mission. I think I had to spy on somebody or something like that. They had it where I went to one area, made it mad confusing on how to travel to that area. But my thing is this though: when you have to spend hours into playing the tutorial, spend hours playing the tutorial, and then the thing is this: you're making it seem like that's going to be the only game that I play. Developers got to stop doing that. They got to stop making it seem like that. Yeah, I'm going to probably be playing that game for a while, but there are all these other video games that I have, from old video games to new video games, and then there's games that's going to be coming out. Do you honestly think if like Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, do you think I'm going to put Grand Theft Auto 6 on hold so I can play X4 Foundations? When my thing is this, even just talking to the developers behind X4 Foundations, when has there ever been a time when a brand new video game that you have been waiting all year for, brand new video game comes out, and then you're like, oh, let me play this game first, and then I'll play this new game? At least the people that I know, when we see a new video game that's out, or if there's an old video game that gets in our possession, we're going to play that game. I don't know anybody, at least in this day and age, that's like, oh, I only play one video game. Yeah, you'll see where maybe content creators, where it's like, okay, they might stream that one game every single day and stuff. But for the most part, I'm like, I know, even those types of content creators, I think, and they just be doing it off of a dummy account. But no, they play more than just one video game. So that's why I'm like, nah, bro. And I just know that when Grand Theft Auto 6 we're gonna probably look up and see a lot of different streamers playing that game, content creators, whether it's YouTubers, TikTokers, streamers, it don't matter. You know, it's gonna probably be some makeup tutorial people playing Grand Theft Auto. So, but anyways, I remember doing that mission, and then they had it set up. Now, in most missions where you're being chased and then you get away, because it's like, unless you got some sort of tracking device on my spaceship, I really don't see how you're going to be able to pinpoint where I'm at in a big old giant galaxy, right? But so anyways, they had it where I think I did like some spying mission. Some guys seen me spying, they started chasing after me. I got away thinking, okay, I fast traveled to this other area. There's no way possible they're gonna find me. They found me, killed me, blew up my spaceship. Now I'm just stuck out in the middle of the galaxy with nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, why do you think somebody would want to experience that? Like, how do you think in real life, how do you think something like that would go down? Obviously, the person is going to die if their spaceship blows up, and then if they somehow, some way survive, and then most likely their body is going to be mangled. But if not that, it's like they're just stuck out in the middle of space. There's nothing, there's nobody to call. You're just stuck out in the middle of space. Why would you think somebody would want to deal with some stuff like that? Like, it seems like that would be a funny thing to experience, but at the same time, if that ain't advertised as funny, I'm not going to look at it as funny. I'm going to look at it as a little bit frustrating, where it's like, okay, now I got to restart this mission. And so, no, that's how they actually had the checkpoint set up, was that the checkpoint, it always would pin me back to when them guys had started chasing me. So there was no way possible of escaping them. And I think even the spaceship that I had, it wasn't even equipped to really be fighting with those guys. So I'm like, fam, why do you think people want to? So you know what? I said, squash all that. I'm not even going to play this game no more. I'm going to tell people my experience with this game, in case if they're new to the game and they're like, oh, well, let me see what, because obviously there's going to be a bunch of different people saying good things about the game. But how many times do you see content where people are saying bad things about the game? That's where I step in, because I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you and be all like, oh yeah, this is the greatest game of all time. It got this, it got that, it could do this, it could do that. No, the game is this, it has a lengthy tutorial that should have been free, and then you go out and buy the main game once when you want to play it, but the tutorial should have been separated, because my thing is this, it's going to take you more than 2 hours to get through the tutorial. All the different stuff that they got you doing is going to take you more than 2 hours. So if you can't get your money back, then it's like you pretty much, no, on these, like, if you played it through the tutorial and then you get into the main game, realize you don't like it, it's too late. You can't get your money back, because like I said, you're gonna spend more than 2 hours in the tutorial with all the different things that they have you doing. So I talked about this game, make podcast episodes, videos, social media posts, all that stuff. And then, no, it was funny because, so one day I'm playing Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. If you've been following me for a while, you probably already know what story I'm telling. But anyways, I'm playing Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, and it's a racing game for those that don't know. And so, anyways, the guy he joined. So no, he commented. I think he commented. Sent me a message because he commented underneath one of my videos saying he wanted to debate me. Then because he was all like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of X4 Foundations and I wanted to debate you and all this other stuff. Then he sent me a message, and then he joined my Twitch stream where I'm playing a completely different game, and he wanted to. I was all like, no, bro, I'm not here for all that. I'm not trying to do no debating any of that. I just want to play this game. I'm like, my thing is this: if my stream was set up to do debates, I don't care for no debating, bro. And so anyways, so I'm playing the game, and it's funny because it's one of my all-time favorite cars, a Mustang. And and I know a lot about the Mustangs. Like, this was a car that I was going out of my way to study, when I was in high school. So I know a little bit about Mustangs, and that's one thing that I know is that it is one of the fastest muscle cars in the world. When we look at a lot of different muscle cars, at one point in time, this car was beating out Camaros and Dodge Challengers like it stole lunch money from them. Mustangs ain't no, cars to just be, downplaying its capability and all of that stuff, right? So anyways, so I'm playing the game, I'm using the Mustang, I'm racing. Out of nowhere, this Mini Cooper, it comes flying past my Mustang. So me just cracking the joke, I'm like, man, I know that's unrealistic. I'm like, there is no Mini Cooper in this world that's gonna beat out a Mustang. Same guy that wanted to debate me about the X4 Foundation, he's like, no, he's like, I didn't put my schedule aside. I'm going to debate you. I don't care what we're gonna be debating about, but I'm going to debate you. So he comments talking about Mini Coopers are faster than Mustangs. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know what your knowledge is when it comes to cars, but that's like saying that somebody that's 80 years old is they're faster than a person that's 20 years old and they're an athletic. Like an athletic track star. It's one of those things where it's like, fam, you really have to sit down and think about what you're saying before you say it. When have you ever seen a Mini Cooper and a Mustang in the same conversation of racing each other? Yeah, for this video game, they just got it where it's just cars racing up against anybody. It don't matter what car it is. But how many times have you seen a Mustang and a Mini Cooper in the same race? So we ended up doing some research, and then I ended up finding a video where it was a 2004 Mustang going up against a 2013 Mini Cooper. Now, here's the thing. When you're comparing a old car to a new car, obviously the newer car is gonna be faster, but that just overall tells me that's how slow a Mini Cooper is, where they had to go back years just to find a Mustang that can be in the same conversation as the Mini Cooper. But when you're comparing a Shelby GT 500, a Boss 302, even a Mustang GT, or a standard V6 Mustang, you can put up a modern day Mini Cooper up against a modern day Mustang. That Mustang is going to win every single race. But if you're having to compare a 1996 Mustang to a 2026 Mini Cooper, obviously, well, the funny thing is that if you're having to go back that far, that just overall tells me Mini Coopers ain't a fast car. So the guy, he got to debating me about it, and I'm like, man, you're gonna get blocked. I'm like, so, because I'm not gonna be out here debating you. I'm trying to focus on this game. You want to debate somebody? I'm pretty sure. Hold on for a second. Is there a place on Reddit where you can debate people? Hold on. Let's see if there's a debate subreddit. Debate subreddits. Yeah, they got a, they was like, and then even somebody had asked the question on the subreddit for help. There was like, are there any subreddits dedicated to debating? So if you want to debate people, go on Reddit for it. But me, I'm not gonna be out here debating you, especially when it comes down to some stuff that you don't know nothing about. So that's why I was like, yeah, that guy, he don't know nothing about cars. But it's like Mini Coopers, I guess, if we could just talk on that real quick. Mustang's got a much more bigger engine. The specs on the Mustang is a lot better than the Mini Cooper. And then even, hold on for a second, let's just see the fastest Mini Cooper. Fastest Mini Cooper. The 2020 Mini Cooper the Mini John Cooper Works GP is the fastest production Mini ever made, featuring a 301 horsepower 2.0 liter turbocharged engine, top speed of 165 miles per hour, and a 0 to 60 mile per hour time of 5 to 5.2 seconds. Okay, let's see. Fastest Mustang in the world. The 2025-2026 Ford Mustang GTD is the GTD. It's for my Martin fans out there. Don't you know? Okay, we're being serious. Okay, dude. If you don't know Martin, then I'm like, yeah, watch the episode when he went to court for the speeding ticket. But anyways, it's the fastest production Mustang ever, featuring an 815 horsepower supercharged 5.2 liter V8 engine and a top speed of 202 miles per hour. It is designed as a street legal track car with advanced aerodynamics, aiming for a sub 7 minute Nürburgring lap time. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, fam, even the fastest Mini Cooper in the world can't even go up against the fastest Mustang. But I'm like, I'm trying to think. Let's just see. I wonder if they have okay, let's go to the Ford website, and because I know they have like that one where I think it's like the Dark Horse or something like that. But yeah, the Dark Horse, there was like horsepower wait a minute, 500 horsepower, and then it's like, and that's not even the one, yeah, it still has more horsepower. So that's why I'm like, man, it's at times where I'm like, people, they don't know nothing about what they talking about, and I'm like, yeah, if he been wanting to talk about X4 Foundation, oh yeah, he had been dragging on that conversation for as long as possible. But anyways, then the other game that people were getting on me about was Arc Raiders. And yeah, because that was one thing where I'm all like, they need to have a PvE mode, because there are a lot of people out there where I guess they're calling them rats. But no, yeah, there's a lot of rat activity going on Arc Raiders. And I'm like, fam, when I'm trying to play a game, I'm not trying to have it where I'm out here getting killed left and right by people. They're like, oh, well, I'm too lazy to go around and find loot, so let me just go and just start killing people that did all this pretty much searching around finding loot, just to have it where, yeah, it's like, the thing is this, right? If they had it where it was set up where it was PvP, then I probably would have had nothing to say about it. But when you're mixing in PvE players, because people are even saying that with whatchamacallit, the trios and duos. I think they said with duos it's not as bad going up against people, but trios, it's pretty much a war zone. And I'm like, my thing is this, to have it set up where it could kind of just be like PvE, where it's just one big major, like, okay, yeah, have it where it's like more difficult arcs in the PvE mode, but at the same time it's like you need to have it where it is playable for everybody. And I'm not trying to hear nothing about it's gonna split the resources or ruin the game, because people were saying that when I did start talking on that game needing a PvE mode, and I'm thinking to myself, and this was before I was really playing Gray Zone Warfare, because I actually had stepped away. No, so what was funny about Arc Raiders was that I played Gray Zone. So no, I played, so I did play Gray Zone Warfare first, but I ended up getting my money back for that game because I was like, the game wasn't in a good state at that point in time. Then I remember I played it once, then after that I played Arc Raiders. Then I didn't really, care for that game. So I had ended up going back to playing Gray Zone Warfare. But again, that game was difficult. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to really fool. And it's funny because I just remember saying, I was like, yeah, And what was crazy was like, I wasn't even really mad about it. I was like, okay, the game, I didn't realize that I could get me night vision goggles in that game. So, but no, I ended up getting shot and killed. But I think that's how that game, not Arc Raiders, Gray Zone Warfare has designed that there's certain areas that if you go to it, that the enemies is going to be a lot harder to kill, and they're going to be able to find you a lot faster compared to like the local gangs that be in the game and stuff, where it's like they're not all that hard to kill. you can shoot them a few times and they'll die. But it's like the more difficult enemies, you gotta like really pinpoint where to shoot them, like whether it's a headshot or something else. But even then, it's like what's so crazy about Gray Zone Warfare is that if you make the game hard, then it will be hard. But if it ain't even like on no difficulty setting stuff, it's like it just really depends on what loot that you leave with. So if you're leaving with like if you're leaving, I guess, with ammo that's gonna go up against the local gang, then it's like, okay, you have a better shot with that. But overall, though, if you're trying to use that against like the military guys that be in the game, yeah, it's gonna be a problem, So, but no, anyways, I do remember it was a guy. He claimed to be military, but he got mad at me for pretty much like just saying like, yeah, I'm not even gonna fool with Gray Zone Warfare. At the time, I was like, I wasn't even gonna fool with the game no more, because I'm like, nah, man, this game is not in a good state right now. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it alone. And yeah, bro's like arguing with me, talking about, oh, it's a real man's game. And I'm like, there's no such thing as a real man's game. I'm like, and by saying that, it's overall tells me that you are not a real man. I'm like, you think that you're a real man because, oh, I'm playing a difficult game. And it's like, bro, you're not. And so, and it's funny because I think at some point in time, I must have said that, where I'm all like, you probably don't know nothing about the military and stuff. And then that's when he got to telling me about, oh, I was in the military. I think he said he was a Marine or he was in the Army or something like that. I don't know. But I was like, no, you're not. I'm like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're having to sit here and argue with me about it, I could just tell that you're not. I'm like, you're dragging on the argument and stuff. And it's like, fam, I done rage baited you into, getting into an argument about you being in the military. So that's overall telling me you're not military trained. You're not. You watch some military movies and played some games. That doesn't make you in the military. That just makes you somewhat aware of the military and stuff. But then he was all like, well, what knowledge do you have of the military? I'm like, the same as you. Nothing. I'm like, I'm not claiming to be in the military. You are. So, but yeah, I was like, that guy, he was weird. I'm like, but I hope he probably is all like, if he does see that I'm playing Gray Zone Warfare, he's probably like, bro, how this man was just arguing. I'm like, I never said I hated the game. I just said that the game wasn't good at that point in time. But now playing it, I'm like, yeah, the game, it's probably one of the best games I played this year. No, Gray Zone Warfare is definitely a game where I'm like, took it some time, but it definitely got better over the time and stuff. But then the other game that, besides Arc Raiders, yeah, because I feel like I said everything I need to say, or actually, no, I was still talking about Arc Raiders. So I stopped playing Arc Raider or Gray Zone Warfare, went to back to playing Arc Raiders, played it, was having the most amount of fun. Yeah, I dealt with some people that was on some rat behavior. Then it was like the last few times of playing the game, then it just really seemed like that, yeah, people were just, they were just being rats and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, fam, what's the fun in this where it's like I'm getting ready to extract and then people are wanting to take me out like right when I'm about to extract and people are trying to defend it. And I'm like, there's no defense for it. If I done did all of this work finding this loot and I'm trying to complete these missions, there's no defense for you sneaking up from behind me and shooting me in the back and killing me and taking my loot. You might want to defend that, but I'm not going to defend that. Okay, I'm not even playing the game that way. The crazy thing is that if they were to approach me in that game and be like, hey, do you have this? I'm like, I might not have it on me, but I tell you what, if I do find it anywhere in this game, I'll make sure to drop it off for you. I'm a nice person when I play those types of games. Even when playing Gray Zone Warfare, there's these two guys where they had, it's like, it's funny now thinking about it because now I'm seeing the different factions in that game. And it was crazy because there was these two guys that it was in the PvE lobby. And yeah, and these two guys, they wasn't marked on the map. And so now thinking about it, I'm like, they probably was a part of a different faction in that game, because I was like, why are they not appearing on the map? I'm over here thinking, I'm like, bro, are they hackers or are they like people like the developers or something? I'm like, what's going on here? And so, but anyways. But yeah, playing Arc Raiders and then dealing with like people carrying on like rats in that game, I'm like, nah, bro. So then yeah, that's when I went and started back playing Gray Zone Warfare, because I'm like, at least with that game it has a PvE option, and it's crazy to me where it's like you look at games like that and it don't have nowhere as near as amount of the players that Arc Raiders have. Hold on for a second, let's see where it is at right now. Probably when this new update comes out, I can see it definitely going up a lot more, but because I think there's like they have it where the mode in there, or not mode, but the new update, it won't be available for like the standard players until the 30th. And dang, it's like this game, it seems like the player count is getting lower and lower with Arc Raiders. It's currently right now at 78,000 players playing the game. And they had in a 24-hour peak 136,000 players. And then they had a 481,000 all-time peak 4 months ago. And Marathon, yeah, it's they pretty much lost half of their player count. I mean, it is going based off of Steam, but I'm like, bruh, the game just came out earlier this month. Like, how does it lose that many players that fast? Like, it lost half of its players. So that's why I'm like, and it's funny because people were saying that with that game Marathon, that it was going to pretty much be another, whatchamacallit, Concord. And I'm like, no, and it is. It really is. It's really ending up like another Concord. And then with Gray Zone Warfare, it's crazy because like the game, it was like maybe 1,000 players was just playing it. Now it bumped all the way up to like thousands of players playing this game. And they had in a 24-hour peak, they had 16,000 players. I think that was like the highest they went up to, 16,000. And I'm like, yeah, bro, it's like the game is good. They're working on making the game better. But when you got games like Arc Raiders, Marathon, what else? X4 Foundation, where they just refuse to work on the game. And then another game that I've recently been talking on, The Division 2. Yeah, when you have it where there's these developers, they just refuse to fix the issues with that game. Why do I need to continue playing the game? Why should I say good things about the game? Because that's the part that confuses me, is that so many people want to argue. But I'm like, fam, if nothing was wrong with these games, I wouldn't be doing a 30-minute podcast episode talking about them. But let's talk about The Division. All right. So anyways, this is probably the one game that I have been playing longer than the other games. I've been playing The Division since The Division 2 since 2019. But the series itself, yes, I was present when The Division 1 came out. So anyways, and I never had no problems with The Division 1. It was actually a much more better game than The Division 2. But anyways, The Division 2 comes out. Pretty much puts The Division 1 in the dust. Everybody is playing The Division 2. It's newer, it's modern, the stuff is different in the game. Loot is a little bit better compared to the Division 1 loot and stuff. But I'm like, okay, when you very first play that game, you're not thinking along the lines, what could possibly go wrong in the future? So, pretty much what they did, they just disappeared when it came to working on the game, because I will give them that later on that year, they did come out with Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So I will give Ubisoft that. They did come out with a new game, but it just seemed like it put The Division 2 in the dust. So there wasn't really nothing happening with the game. Then out of nowhere, they dropped the Warlords of New York DLC. All right, cool. I'll take that. I'll take the Warlords of New York DLC. That DLC, it wasn't the same New York as the one in the Division 1, but I was like, you know what? It's whatever. I ain't tripping about it. You know, overall, still at the end of the day, it's new content for the Division 2. What could possibly go wrong? Next thing you know, they added one of those season pass things, and it just seemed like after that, the game went downhill. Now they're basing it off of events, and then they'll come out with an occasional new mode here and there and stuff. And I'm like, fam, these modes, and so, but you know what? It's not about the modes. It's not about like the gameplay and any of that stuff. I never had a problem with the gameplay. I will admit that there are at times where the gameplay is kind of stupid because they have it set up where enemies will be trying to flank you, and I'm thinking to myself, realistically, if somebody is shooting at me, I'm not going to run towards them, you know, so that it's one of those, especially when I know that like whatever gun that they have is capable of killing me, I'm not going to run towards them, you know. So, but anyways, from that to my player getting stuck on the wall when I'm going into cover, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I move my analog stick away, like it's crazy because he can move away from the wall any other time, but then when I really want him to move away from the wall, that's when he just gets stuck, and I'm literally breaking my controller trying to get him to get up off of the wall and stuff. But anyways, no, so that's not, I can see past all of that stuff, you know. And then the game, it was crashing a little bit at one point in time on my older gaming PC, but I was like, once I got my new gaming PC, it did stop, so I thought. But anyways, none of those things were the issues. I'm like, okay, you know what, game crashes, it's whatever, you know. It's like, I'll just give the game some time and then go back into it or figure out a way to prevent it from crashing. The biggest issue in that game, and it's literally the key thing to that game, is the looting system. So what trips me out about the looting system in that game is that, so when you do play it on normal, you don't get the best of the best gear. Okay, I'll bump it up a little bit more. I'll bump it up to hard. You still pretty much getting the same gear. You might not get as much of the same gear, but you're getting the same gear pretty much. Okay, well, you know what? I'll play one of the even more harder modes. You are still getting the same gear. So no, people, I recently did a video talking about the Division 2 on TikTok, and everybody was getting on me about what I had said and things. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'll give the game one more chance. Now, I will admit, I was playing the Summit mode, and I did get a couple of good weapons. Actually, a few good weapons in that in the Summit mode. And I was actually playing it on, but that's how you have to do it, though. You can't overall get it by going and doing like completing the floors and stuff, because that's, you pretty much go through a building with 100 floors and you gotta kill all the enemies and stuff. So they don't have it set up where it's like that. You gotta add like the challenges, the directives and stuff, and or yeah, no, not the directives, but there's challenges that they'll have you do where you might get an exotic cache or an exotic weapon and stuff like that. So that they did give me a couple of good assault rifles, one being the St. Elmo's engine, and I was like, oh wow, that's actually one of the best assault rifles in the game. All right, cool, I'll take that. Still ain't did nothing. And you know, the thing is this, it should have been a weapon I should have got a long time ago, because this wasn't my first time playing the game on the hardest difficulty. So there was the one, I don't even know if that weapon was out at the time when I was doing that, but anyways, there's this one weapon that I've been trying to get in that game for the longest called the Bullet King. So people were saying that you have to play that, because I was seeing so many different conversations with that game from people saying play the mission on the story difficulty, play it on the hardest difficulty, play it on this difficulty, play it with these directives, play it with this, play it with that. And I'm thinking to myself, why do I have to play these two missions back to back so many different times just to get this weapon? When you look at a lot of different other games out there, they have it set up where you complete a mission, you get whatever weapon that is designed to be given out, but they're not going to have it where it's like you just keep getting the same weapon. It doesn't matter what difficulty you played on, you're just going to get the same weapon. So I look it up online. I did a little bit of research about that gun. They say it is a 7% chance of getting that weapon when playing these two missions on the Warlords of New York. And it ain't no telling when you'll get the weapon on because I think they do say that you can't get it playing the Summit mode. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. And so they have this feature on there where you can target the loot that you want. Explain to me why playing both, because there's the two modes that I was playing a lot of recently, and it was the Summit and it was the Countdown mode. I put it on targeted loot, light machine gun, because that's what the Bullet King is. It's a light machine gun. I played I think I did play the Summit on the highest difficulty I went up to was hard, but I did play Countdown on heroic. That's the hardest difficulty in the game. Tell me why. There were two different times, the last time I played the game, but it was another day where I was playing it. I'm getting ready to extract, and then just randomly, the game crashed. Okay, I ain't gonna lose no sleep over it. It's whatever, it's not gonna happen again. Last time, yesterday, I'm playing the game, and then, I'm getting ready to extract. Randomly, game crash. How is this a good game? How are you going to try to convince me that a game, and this is a brand new computer. This is a computer where I'm like, it's not, because my old computer, I remember when the game was crashing. I'm like, okay, it's whatever. I'll just go out and get me a new computer. You ain't going to crash on two different computers, especially when the one that I have now, this is a modern computer. So you're going to tell me a modern computer can't handle a game that came out 7 years ago? Explain that, please, because I'm like, that is something that I would really like an explanation to. I can understand if it's a computer that came out in 2019. This computer that I have, I wonder if I still have the Best Buy, because it's an iBuyPower PC. Let me see if I still, because I'm automatically signed in to Best Buy, so I'm like, before I end this podcast episode, I gotta see when I bought that that PC. But anyways, iBuyPower. Let's see. So I bought it in 2024. They don't have like a thing where it see details. I wonder if they have like a page for it. They do. They do. Hold on. Let's see. $1,400 gaming PC. By the way, this was it's $1,499. So let's see. Do they have like a release date for this year of release? Okay, so it came out in 2024. Processor model Intel Core i7 14th generation. System RAM 32 gigabytes. And I think I upgraded the gigabytes for it to be 64. So maybe that might have something to do with it. I don't know. But anyways, graphics card, NVIDIA G4 RTX 4060. And then and it was installed on an SSD because that's the only like storage type that it has. But anyways, let's just see. Can too much RAM cause your game to crash? Let's just see. Let's just see. Yes, having too much RAM can cause a game to crash, particularly not because of the capacity itself, but rather than the instability of fast RAM settings, XMP and slash EXPO, or with extras. So they're pretty much, it's like a yes and no answer. But so it's like, if people are gonna say that, then I'm like, my thing is this: can somebody please explain to me how is it that I can play Gray Zone Warfare? I just played this one game, Project Motor Racing. I didn't play a whole lot of it, but Project Motor Racing, Ground Branch, Incursion Red River, WWE 2K26, what else? PGA Tour 2K25, Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is literally the Division 2. It so happens to be aliens that you're killing in that game instead of human people and stuff. But overall, though, I'm thinking to myself, this is literally the same game. I could play all of these different games, don't have to ever worry about them crashing. Even with Gray Zone Warfare, that game being so it was the most unstable video game that I ever played at one point in time. Now it's far more stable than what it was back 2 years ago. Explain to me how that game was even playable on. I think at the time, what PC did I have at the time? I can't remember what PC I had at the time when Gray Zone Warfare originally released. I can't remember if I had my older PC or my newer PC, but either way, regardless, I've had my gaming PC for a while now. The games I done played, a lot of different video games. The only games that crashes are the games that are broken. So that's why I'm like, I'm not hearing nothing about, because it's what? They're not doing no real work. Ubisoft ain't doing no real work with the Division 2. The only work that they're doing is Rainbow Six Siege work. So that's why I'm like, yeah, but people are trying to argue me saying, oh, the game is good. Oh, I ain't never had no issues with the loot in there. I ain't never had. I'm like, okay. You're going based off of your experience, and you're expecting it to be over the experience that I just had. How is that? How is that supposed to work? So that's why I'm like, yeah, bro, I don't be listening to people. I'm like, when they get to talking about that, I just delete their comment and go on about my day, because I'm like, look, my thing is this. You can have a million different experiences with that game, and they can all be the best experiences that you can possibly have. That's still not going to change my experience with the game. So that's why I'm like, what? So at the end of the day, you telling me, you trying to convince me that it's a good game. How's that going to work when the game crashes on me? The game don't ever give me it. When it does give me good loot, it's super rare. And I feel like maybe because I've been calling the game out lately, I don't know, maybe the Ubisoft is hearing it, and they're all like, okay, let's have it where the loot is a little bit better today and stuff. Yeah, my thing is this. If I gotta do all this extra work just to play the game, and then it's like on top of that, I'm having to rely on people, but it's like this game, let's just see what the player count is for the Division 2, because it's not high, even with the game being for $2 at one point in time. So they had an all-time peak 20 days ago of 27,000 players, and currently right now they have 11,000 players. Let's just see. So they do have a little bit, the game was $2, so that's probably why it has more players than Gray Zone Warfare, but not by a whole lot. It's just by a couple of thousand. But I guess if Gray Zone Warfare, if they had it where their game was $2, there'd probably be a lot of people playing their game too, and that probably people having fun with the game. So yeah, that's why I'm like, people are trying to argue with me. Here's the thing: you're gonna have your experience with the game. That's not gonna change. Just like how if I had a bad experience with the game, that's not going to change. And by you telling me all the good things that happened to you, how is that supposed to, make me feel better? That's just showing it's like, okay, now I know that the game is really broken. Because if you out here getting all these different things and you're barely doing any things in the game, and I'm here playing the game on the hardest difficulty and still ain't getting nothing. Yeah, bro, game's broken. So, but anyways, with that being said, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Like, subscribe, viewing this on YouTube. Follow, subscribe, viewing this on the podcast streaming service. And peace.